As a teacher, how do you discuss political parties in this toxic and divisive political climate? It's hard for adults to have these conversations. But as a teacher, what are we supposed to do? Poster says, I teach middle school social studies in a very conservative area. The topic of political parties naturally comes up in our class discussions when we get to the civics portion of the lesson. Previously, I just stuck to the normal talking points about the Republican and Democratic parties, but now I'm having a hard time describing, especially the Republican Party, without fear of being either inundated with emails or being called in to meet with parents and or administration. Let's face it, they haven't been the party of Reagan for several years now. So, a couple questions. The poster has, how would you handle this topic? Are there any good unbiased resources you could point me to expand my own knowledge, or I could send students in order for them to research themselves? Thanks in advance, and please be civil. Yeah. Um, and primarily the responses were civil. But I would say this: the answer, it may seem difficult, but it's not difficult in terms of how to handle this topic, because you see, as teachers, and I really enjoyed this when I taught this, because oftentimes my students would come in and I could tell they were repeating things about politicians that they heard from somebody else, because when I asked them why, to back it up, give me evidence. Why do you feel that way? Why do you say that? They just couldn't. And oftentimes they would ask me, say, who you voting for? Who you voting for? And I wouldn't tell them, because that wasn't my job to encourage them to to go with either side. What I wanted to do was I wanted to present them the in, with information that was factual as best as I knew it, present them with information and encourage them to analyze the information. This is what this politician said. This is what this politician did. This is what this opposing politician said. This is what this opposing politician did. You have to analyze those things, because sometimes what the talking and the doing don't align. And so my job was to educate. I wanted to be a part of educating citizens, so that when the time came for them to participate in elections, that they're not just parroting things that they heard someone else say. They're making up their own mind. And that is what all students deserve from their teachers. Here, this teacher, I get it. This comment right here, let's face it, they haven't been the party of Reagan for several years now. Okay, and I think that's where it begins, because like I said, it's easy. If you keep that mission in mind, you want to educate citizens who are going to be participating in elections in the future. You want them to be educated so that they can look at both sides, analyze that's what you want, and they make up their own minds. That's the mission. Even though, because for some people who find it difficult, you're going to have to take a step back and admit, like, where you stand on these things, because this teacher is not a Trump fan. They may even be they may even be they may even lean left, maybe even hard left. But again, the mission is still the mission. And that's the beautiful that I think that's the beautiful thing about education, because parents trust us to teach their kids, and they trust us to stick to the mission. And it would be a violation of that trust for a teacher to just go in there and and try to encourage kids to agree with them politically. That's not right. That's a violation of the trust that that parents give us just automatically. Like, here's my kid. Take care of my kid. Please teach my kid. No, I'm not going to violate that trust that they give us by trying to encourage kids to believe what we believe, and not give them the opportunities to think for themselves. That's not what we're supposed to do. So ultimately, I think the answer is just very easy. If you can always cite, parents are going to be parents. No, I take that back. Adults are going to be adults when it comes to politics. Yes, it's frustrating, but if you can always point to, hey, this is the information that I'm showing the students. This is the discussion that we had the other day based off of these facts that actually did happen. Here you see we're doing a compare contrast of both parties, of both candidates. We're really looking at them, and I'm challenging the students to, on their opinion. I'm challenging them to give, to really make the argument. Let's use some facts. Let's try to keep emotion out of it, if we can, because ultimately what's going to change people's minds is, like, if we see the hardcore facts that are backing up what you're saying, then that's what's going to cause people to question what they thought. There's nothing more beautiful than that in happening in a classroom, when you see that light bulb go off in a student's head, where they previously thought one thing, but because someone else articulated something that was just so mind-blowing, that student just has to lean back and say, whoa, wow, I never even thought of that. Like, if that's what you're doing in class, you've got tons of evidence for that. And you just, if you're doing that, you shouldn't be worried. You shouldn't be worried. Your principal has got your back, and you're going to be good. So, yeah, stick to the mission. Don't try to persuade kids to agree either way with either political party, and encourage them to analyze what each party is, what they're saying, what they're doing, and just play it right down the middle. Don't show your hand. Like, don't make comments like this. The Republicans haven't been the party of Reagan for several. Don't do things like that for either part. Just keep that to yourself. Keep that to yourself. Let your students decide. Let your students decide, and I think everything is going to be okay, especially if that's your stance, you're sticking to the mission, and you're consistent about it. You're going to be fine. If anyone else out there has any tips for teachers who may be a little apprehensive about this, maybe there's some first year teachers who know that they're going to have to have these discussions, and they're in they're in very conservative areas, or they're in very liberal areas, and they may have to discuss this, but they're apprehensive about it. If you have any tips, ideas, we want to hear from you in the comments section. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please don't forget that teachers are leaders.